So I was not here for the launch of our new mainstay.
Right.
What we're calling Matchup Monday.
Right.
All-time Matchup Monday.
Yes.
Hashtag Matchup Monday.
Woo!
That's all it's got to be, right? All you got to do is come up with something
Very
that can be easily
exciting.
hashtagged.
Yes.
And in Matchup Monday, we are going to pit, in a kind of fantasy matchup,
Right.
two of the great all-time teams in Texas, high
Yes.
school, college, all
Right.
of them, against one another, and
Yep.
say, hey, who would win? We'll lay out the argument for each one, and then we'll let you vote.
Yeah.
And you can check it out at TexasFootball.com. We'll also be posting it out on the Twitters, so you can see, you can vote there and you can vote here. And so we launched with, I think, a real doozy of a matchup. And a real doozy of a styles clash from
Right.
two teams that are relatively legendary with iconic players of their own. And they are just 4 years apart. You know,
Right.
I know we're going to have teams from like the 1940s.
Right.
Going up against teams from like last year.
Right.
And that's going to be really fun. Here, it's a lot easier because the game didn't change a whole lot
Right.
in 4 years.
Well, I think before we really get going, let's quickly try to go through how we're breaking these down.
Sure.
Right? So we have a full list of some of the best teams that ever played in the state's history. And we're adding to that list as we go, as we add more research and do that.
And if you have one, tweet it to
Please,
us
send
at
it in.
DCTF.
Yes, we would love to have it. Email it to us, tweet it to us, whatever it takes. Our senior writer, Mike Craven, is then going to make a case for each team.
Interesting.
We're not really interested in trying to badmouth or point out any negative aspects to any of these teams because they wouldn't be on this list if there were negative aspects.
Yeah.
They're pretty much awesome in every way. So Mike's going to highlight in a couple graphs what makes each of these teams great. We're going to each make our picks. That's going to be in each article. But we're also going to put up a fan vote both on Twitter and on the site and on Facebook to see who everyone thinks would win this matchup if it happened. Now, some of these matchups will make a lot of sense. This is one that's perfect. It's got the star power. It's close and as far as time. You could reasonably see how these teams would have matched up. Some of them are a little trickier. I think we will have teams from like the 40s, but we're probably putting them up against 3 or 4A teams from today to kind of make the matchup make a little more sense because I think we all feel like, Allen versus the best teams from Abilene in, the 20s and 30s.
Be a bit of a romp.
Probably not going to end well.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting to see what, say, a Mason today would do against those teams from the 20s, 30s, 40s. So you'll see some not too much of a, divide between the talent and these things. We're going to try and make these matchups intriguing for argument's sake.
So our first Matchup Monday that was launched yesterday on TexasFootball.com pits the 2000 Midland Lee Rebels against the 1996 Austin Westlake Chaparrals. Let's start with Westlake.
Sure.
Okay, and I think that it's appropriate. It's an appropriate start. It's an appropriate start to Mike Craven's article that he just said. Drew Brees.
Right.
Like that's the headliner, right?
Right.
And Drew Brees was amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, and this whole offense churned.
Right.
659 points in 16 games. Right. It's pretty outrageous.
Not bad.
They scored more than 40 points 11 times. They won every game by double digits. They were dominant. Even in their title game. They beat Abilene Cooper 55-15.
Right.
55-15. A 40-point game in a title game is unheard of.
Yeah, and
okay?
it wasn't just the offense. I think it was 8 turnovers forced by the defense. I mean, wow.
Yeah, and they are – the defense was great. He mentions the opponents averaged just 11.5 points a game against the Chaps.
Right.
I mean, it's not just they have a transcendent quarterback.
Right.
They have a transcendent quarterback and also this defense that is killing folks.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, the strong safety or the free safety for that team was one Houston Street.
Yes.
So,
they had some guy. They had Seth McKinney on there.
Right.
This was a loaded team. Won the 5A Division I state championship back there in 1996. So, Division II rather.
Right.
Okay. So then you're saying, why would I pick against them? Who could possibly match up with them? I give you the 2000 Midland Lee Rebels, the first high school player to ever appear on the cover of Dave Campbell's Texas Football in 2000, Cedric Benson.
Right.
And Cedric Benson, for all the greatness that Drew Brees had.
Yep.
Hot sports opinion here?
Yeah.
Cedric Benson was better.
I think Cedric is one of the few guys you can make the argument for as greatest Texas high school football player of all time. He is on the short list.
When we, this was last year when Kyler Murray finished his 42-0 run and everyone was saying, oh, he's the greatest player in Texas high school football history. And being this is just how I'm wired, I always said, okay, let's pump the brakes. Let's actually talk about this.
Right.
And if you put together the list of the greatest players in Texas high school football history, Kyler Murray's on it, okay? It's a short list. Let's say it's 5 or 6 deep.
Right.
Kyler Murray's on it. Cedric Benson is definitely on it.
Yeah.
And if you want to say he's the best player in Texas high school football history, there's not a whole lot of argument that's going to come from me.
No.
Okay? And he was outrageous, okay? They were the 2-time defending champs. They won a three-peat. First of all, they beat Westlake in the title game, which is interesting in and of itself. Not Drew Brees' Westlake, but they beat them. And he was 3-time MVP of the state championship games. Mm-hmm. He had 250 yards and 5 touchdowns against an awesome Westlake defense in the title game.
Right.
I'll say that it's interesting that they didn't run the table.
Now, I'm sure the Midland Lee and West Texas purists will make the point that you could argue that the teams the 2 years before might have been better than this one that finished. But I think why we went with the 2000 Midland Lee team is that's Cedric at the peak of his powers. Yeah. And that's what makes it most intriguing to us.
Yeah, I think you're right. And they did have 2 losses. They lost to West Monroe out of Louisiana, and they lost to Odessa in a little Southwest Conference district game. But everything really came together, and by the time they got to that title game, there was no stopping them.
Right.
And there was this idea that, basically after the loss to to Odessa, and Mike Craven brings this up in his article, he says they outscored their next 9 opponents 326-97, okay? I mean, they mowed past people, and that defense really rounded into form, and they were really, really, really dominant.
Right.
You're right. I think that in that three-peat, when they won in 98, 99, and 2000, you could pick any of them.
Right.
But I think the 2000 one, you're right. If you're looking at the transcendent star, which is Cedric Benson, that is when he was peaking. He had his best year in 2000. And so that's what makes it so interesting, is that here you've got this high-flying passing attack from, Westlake with an NFL MVP at the quarterback position.
An offense ahead of its time.
Yes. Going up against this old-school West Texas grinding powerhouse of a running game.
Right.
And it's an interesting matchup. If we were to sit here and the game was on Friday, we'd be sitting here and saying, okay, matchup advantage here is that Westlake is probably going to have the superior defense, and I think they do. I think that Westlake defense was as much of an asset to that team as Drew Brees was.
Right.
But if you are trying to form a team that is uniquely suited to beat that kind of team, isn't it a team like Midland Lee? A team that can grind it out, keep the ball away from Drew Brees and company?
Yep.
I think that, for me, and beyond that, whenever there are these coin flip type games, this is my standard response to coin flip type games. You go with the team with the single best player.
Right.
And the team with the single best player was Cedric Benson in Midland Lee.
Right.
So, that's the rub here. Where do you go?
Okay.
I know that Mike Craven picked Westlake.
Yep.
Basically saying that the passing game and the defense would carry him. You picked Midland Lee.
I did. My theory was single best player. He's going to grind out the clock. He's going to keep the Westlake offense off the field against a very good Westlake defense, but I'm sorry, it's Cedric Benson. And I don't think it's a blowout, but I think I'm going with the strategy of keep the best offense off the field, score a few more points than them with the best player.
Interesting.
Yep.
I think I'm going with Westlake.
It's a tough one, man.
I think
and honestly, looking at some of these matchups, this might be one of the toughest we ever do.
I think I'm going with Westlake.
Yeah.
Cedric Benson's going to get his, okay? Right. Let's say he's, mark him down for 203 touchdowns, right?
Okay. All right. Yep.
The problem is I don't know if the defense can hold up over 48 minutes.
Yep.
Whereas the Westlake defense, I think they have the better defense, and I think that's more likely to hold up over time.
Right.
With this assault that Drew Brees is going to launch against them.
Yes.
I think that the defense is what ends up being the difference here. For all the talk of the big offensive superstars.
It's fair.
Cedric Benson, outrageous. Drew Brees, outrageous. For all that, I think it comes down to defense.
Yep.
Because this is still a team game.
Yep.
And especially at the big school level. We're not talking about, we've seen it in games. We talked about Chan Amy when we were talking about the All-State team. If you are in the smaller school level, if you're in the 3A or 2A level, and you have that dude, Rashad Paul at Bremont.
Right.
Not to say there aren't other great players on there, but Rashad Paul at Bremont, you go, that dude, he's got it.
Yeah.
At the 5A,
a little trickier.
5A and 6A level, it's still a lot more than just having that one transcendent player because we've seen a lot of great transcendent players in 6A and 5A lose because their defense wasn't very good.
Yeah.
I think in this instance, I would go with the defense, and the defense leans toward Westlake. I think 96 Westlake's my pick.
The fan vote so far, over 500 votes combined both on Twitter and on our site.
Okay.
Westlake, 53%.
Okay.
Midland Lee, 47%.
It's a close one.
It's close.
It's real close. And I don't think anybody in their right mind could say it would be a blowout on either side.
No.
I think it would be a very close game. But for me, I would take Westlake.
Yeah.
In a squeaker. I think it's very close.
Okay.
I think it's very, very close.
All right.
Do you have a team that you'd like to see us feature on Matchup Monday? Tweet it to us at DCTF. At DCTF. Use the hashtag Matchup Monday with us if you want to. But we'd be happy to look over it and judge whether or not they would be worthy. Because you know what? There are going to be people who submit teams to us, and we're going to be like, you know what? Those are good teams.
Yep.
Not on that level.
Right.
It's going to happen.
Yep.
Just to be honest, because we want to cut this down to the real cream of the crop, the best teams in Texas history. So college, high school, if there's a team that you want to see featured on Matchup Monday, tweet it to us at DCTF or email Max. I don't remember his email address, but email to him.
Yeah, you can email me, max.thompson at highfieldmarketing.com.
Awesome.
Make your case. And, yeah, I would love to do some college ones at some point. I think we'll have to.
I think you're absolutely right.